Okay, so let's get right into today's episode. Today, we are talking about cyber attacks, cyber frauds, and scams that are exponentially rising in India ever since the pandemic began. We generally don't say this, but we request you to share this episode with your friends and family so that they don't fall into these type of traps. We want this to be our most listened to episode, and because this is a very important topic right now, and if not prevented, you can also get scammed one day.
So, when the common man thinks whether the Third World War, if it ever happens, will happen on the ground or will it be a cyber war for everything we do in our daily lives is some way or the other connected to the internet, that thought is very valid. Many countries seem to be building hacking organizations which can launch attacks of different kinds on governments or organizations. According to government figures, which are usually underreported, from January to June of 2022 alone, there were over 6 lakh cases of cyber frauds, which is almost 3,700 cases a day, which is unimaginable. When you get a phone call from some random company which isn't even related to what you do and wonder where they got your phone number from, let me tell you, it's none other than the companies and websites to which you give your phone number for sign in purposes or for generation of a bill. They store these they store this phone number of yours and sell it to ad companies or other companies.
Let's start by talking about some scams that could very well happen to you or me. One of the most common scams that's going on right now is the OTP scam. What happens is that you get a call from someone who pretends to be a bank executive and they say that your account needs a KYC done and then sends an OTP to your number, OTP being a one time password, which he asks for you to give him. Once you give him the OTP, some amount of money is withdrawn from your account and it's gone. This has happened to a lot of people. One of Athar's friend's mothers just lost a lot of money because of a similar OTP scam. These scammers can get really convincing and sometimes they can make it seem legit. One thing you guys should remember is that no bank executive will call you up and ask for an OTP. Please, for heaven's sake, do not share your OTP with any unknown number over a phone call. This OTP scam generally happens to elderly people who do not understand these new terms like KYC, OTP, etc. Do warn your parents, grandparents, or even your friends about this so that they do not lose any money. To prevent your Google or WhatsApp account from being compromised, you can turn on two factor authentication, which can minimize the risk of you losing your personal information. You might think two factor authentication is just a hassle, but it is very important for their additional security. Google and WhatsApp have even made it compulsory for some users to set up 2FA.
As people are becoming more aware of these scams, scammers are finding new ways to scam people. One of the most famous scams happening recently is the YouTube comment section scam. When you comment something under your favorite YouTuber's video, you get a reply from an account which has the same DP as your favorite creator and has the username message me on Telegram, and he gives his Telegram ID or whatever. And that comment reads, congratulations, you have won a prize. To claim it, contact me on Telegram. By human nature, people go to Telegram and the person sends them images of their prize, which could be an iPhone or an Android flagship or anything else, telling them that they have to send 1,000 rupees or 2,000 rupees as shipping charges and they'll receive their prize. You think, okay, he's sending me a 1 lakh rupee phone and I can obviously pay 1,000 rupees for shipping or customs or whatever the reason he gives you, and you send him the money. You neither get the prize nor your hard earned 1,000 rupees back. In this case, one thing you should remember is that no YouTuber is distributing gifts to people on Telegram. If he ever hosts a giveaway or whatever, it is usually done via certain platforms such as Gleam, or maybe he does it on his Twitter or Instagram where you comment certain words and then there's a random comment picker or whatever which decides the winner. Never ever trust anyone who tells you that they're going to send you some prize or whatever through Telegram.
Some other scams happening on YouTube is large scale streamers who do stream games for a living, promoting crypto and then pumping and dumping, which is a scam on its own. Another scam which is going on YouTube is promoting the concept of established titles. Those of you who don't know what established titles is, it is a company that just gives a name type thing, but I'll get more into it. So it supposedly makes you the lord of someone or some place in Scotland, but it turns out they're not really clear about it. And I request all YouTubers, big or small, before promoting any brand, no matter how few subscribers you have or how many subscribers you have, do some research about the whole operation behind your brand, because the responsibility is on you. There are a few, now this isn't in the script, but there are a few examples that I want to give too, because this is a very, very common thing that's going on, and one of the biggest YouTubers have been affected by it. So let me start off with established titles and then move on to crypto. Established titles is a company that's been there for a couple of years. Their whole MO is that they'll sponsor a YouTuber, and the YouTuber says that using this, you own a small piece of land in Scotland or something like that, and officially under what they say is officially you're a lord, but legally you cannot be a lord even if you own land in Scotland. And they say that because you paid that much for the land, they will grow certain set of trees and things like that. But it's a very scammy thing. You cannot legally change any of your document names to lord. Like, I cannot, just because I bought established something from established title, it doesn't mean that I can change my name to Lord Gautam Menon in my passport or something like that. It's not allowed. So basically, the way they've advertised it is very, very deceiving. They make it look like as if you can change your actual legal name, and the whole benefit behind this is that people apparently treat you better if you have things like Lord in your name and things like that. So this is one thing you need to be a bit aware of. There's like a whole discussion behind the legality of this. Then after that, there's one more thing that moving on to the whole sponsors thing. Yeah, like I said, if you can see it in the presentation, Mutahar, Some Ordinary Gamer, and other YouTubers too. I do not know them, but even KSI, if I remember, has had this whole established title thing. But Mutahar is like the person who had him as a sponsor, and I think even uh, Moist Critical had established title as a sponsor. So uh, it's basically a made up thing. It's like a prank. So you can read the stuff that we are displaying. But there are other things also. For example, if you don't know, Linus Tech Tips has a very strong community, and occasionally every year actually, if you see, Linus asks his Twitter followers if they have any problem with any of the channel sponsors. And recently, Anchor, if you don't know Anchor, a very famous brand, was outed for having really, really shady privacy practices. So Anchor has this security brand called Eufy, which makes webcams and things like that, which you put inside your house. It turns out that even though the customers have never consented to it, Eufy is uploading all the customers' data, even with face recognition, from the cameras that are inside your house to the cloud. And this is completely not legal. I think Anchor is going to face heavy backlash legally and from customers. So please be careful. So LTT has obviously dropped Anchor, one of its biggest sponsors, immediately once it heard about this. So be very careful with the sponsors you choose or even the products you buy. If you're buying from a new brand, do your research. They need to be a trustworthy brand, especially for things like this, which can have a great effect on your life. Now, moving on to crypto. If for those of you who don't know, crypto scams have been going on for a really long time, especially on Instagram and things like that. But recently, it's been happening more and more on platforms such as YouTube too. So one of the biggest streamers on YouTube right now, I Show Speed. He was, I would say, he was kind of forced into doing it from the looks of it, but I don't want to come into any conclusion. But what they do is they make a new crypto thing and they add like a little thing to it, like, oh, this is not just crypto, this is NFT, or this is a game, or this is a community that we are building. What these creators do is they make lots of people invest in it, and once it's at its peak, they all drop out, cash out with it, and then whatever money you've invested into that crypto is basically worthless. So trust me, if your favorite streamer, music artist, actor, whatever, they all want money. So please be very careful when investing your money into anything. Do lots of research. I think that kind of ends this. Now we'll move on to the next topic. Just stay safe with these YouTube and streamer scams.
Yeah, so the next type of scam is, which is very dangerous and could happen to you or me, is you get a WhatsApp video call from an unknown number, and when you pick it up, you see a nude girl, or like a girl wearing clothes you're not supposed to order, and before even you disconnect the call or whatever, they take a screenshot of it, and they use that screenshot to blackmail you and extract money from you. Youngsters, please beware of this scam that's going on. It's happening to a lot of people, and um, it could very well happen to you or me also. So please be aware. Don't pick up any WhatsApp video calls from random people. Um, Another very common scam is the KBC scam, in which we get a message on WhatsApp or a phone call claiming that you have won a certain amount from KBC, and we need to send them our bank account details so that they can transfer the winning amount to us. Please stay away from these messages because you will lose all your hard earned money instead of winning anything from these fraudsters. Recently, Amitabh Bachchan filed a case in the Delhi High Court asking them to prevent people from using his name or voice anywhere without his permission, and the same was announced by the Delhi High Court. Um, it should reduce like this category of scams.
Yeah, so I'll just like kind of explain more what Athar has said because these are really popular scams going on right now. So on Spotify, there used to be this podcast called Big Fat Indian Gotala. For those of you, they used to have lots of like it used to come as an ad everywhere. Now they've renamed it and made it into a cricket podcast. But in that podcast, it had many episodes talking about this same scam where people randomly get a call on WhatsApp or any other app with some person, and the thing is like you'll just pick up the call and they'll make it look like you're in a compromising position, and then they'll try blackmailing you, and that's the worst form of scams out there. And it's not just this, also on Tinder and other dating apps like that, they do the same thing. People who are like probably men or women or whatever, behind the screen they're pretending to be someone else. They swipe on your account, and then once both of you have matched, they'll start messaging you, and eventually they'll coerce you into making a quote unquote video call. And that time they will just display a fake picture or something like that, and then they will then after that they'll start call then someone will come into the call and they'll start calling you repeatedly again and again, saying that we have your images, we're going to share this to everyone, we know all about you. And they'll start threatening you. And now if they say okay, send us 50,000 rupees, or they say okay, send us 10,000 rupees, you're like okay, I'd rather send 10,000 rupees than lose the respect that I have and things like that. And you send them to 10,000 rupees. Then next 2 days they'll call again and say send me 1 lakh rupees because they still have your picture, right? So what you should do, like Athar said, is first of all message them that you do not want any of this to be there, and then after that you just block them and report the number. That's it. Do not have any further interaction with it and just leave it. Don't think about it. This is a very common scam. Do not be afraid because of any of these scams because it's a very common thing. And as for the KBC scam, I myself have received messages multiple times. If you can see my phone, I haven't downloaded the images, but I've replied to the people sometimes too because it's funny. But it's the same thing. It's like a very uh, like a very generic template that they have made. Picture of Amitabh Bachchan, and for some reason Mukesh Ambani and Modi. I don't know why they have included it, but they just included it for the fun of it. And they try calling you. So I have got a message like this, and after that they will call you once or twice to try to make you, I don't know, respond or something. And if I can, I'll try including the audio too.
नमस्कार। केबीसी कौन बनेगा करोड़पति की ओर से आपके लिए गुड न्यूज़ है। आप जो व्हाट्सएप यूज़ कर रहे हैं, आपके इस व्हाट्सएप नंबर पे 25 लाख रुपए का लॉटरी खुला है। आपको केबीसी की ओर से बधाई पेश करते हैं। केबीसी कौन बनेगा महाकरोड़पति में 5000 नंबरों पे पार्टिसिपेट लकी ड्रा हुआ था। आपका नंबर सेलेक्ट था, आपका नंबर भाग्यशाली रहा है। आपके व्हाट्सएप नंबर पे 25 लाख रुपए का लॉटरी लग चुका है। अगर आप ये लॉटरी का पैसा कैश करना चाह रहे हैं तो फाइल पहुंची हुई है। फाइल के ऊपर नंबर भी लिखा हुआ है, व्हाट्सएप का नंबर है। ऐड करो, अपने व्हाट्सएप में ऐड करो। ऑफिसर राणा प्रताप सिंह होंगे, वो आपका वेट कर रहे हैं। लॉटरी के बारे में मुकम्मल इन्फॉर्मेशन देंगे। फाइल के ऊपर जो नंबर लिखा हुआ है व्हाट्सएप का नंबर है। डायलिंग कॉल नहीं होगी, अपने व्हाट्सएप में ऐड करो। व्हाट्सएप पे कॉल लगाओ, ऑफिसर राणा प्रताप सिंह होंगे, लॉटरी मैनेजर, जो आपको लॉटरी के बारे में इन्फॉर्मेशन देंगे। ओके, व्हाट्सएप का नंबर है, याद रखना है। व्हाट्सएप का नंबर है, अपने व्हाट्सएप में ऐड करो, उस पर कॉल लगाओ। राणा प्रताप सिंह होंगे, वो आपको लॉटरी के बारे में मुकम्मल इन्फॉर्मेशन देंगे। ओके, थैंक यू।
For our non-Indian viewers, KBC is basically Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, the Indian equivalent of that. And he sent me this message on WhatsApp saying that you have to message the number that is given in the picture. It's hosted by KBC, and they have a WhatsApp lucky draw. You send a message to that number on WhatsApp specifically, obviously because things are much harder to track once it's done through WhatsApp rather than the normal number. And he said message to get approximately 30,000 US dollars, which I won in the lucky draw that they conducted from the video. But it's really funny. But there are many old people. Or sometimes when life isn't great, you'd feel like this is luck that's acting, and you're gonna have a better life. And I see people like you can fall for things like this. So I'm just telling you to be careful. Do not fall for these KBC scams and things like that. There is nothing like that. And also, there was this stream by this very popular Indian YouTuber. I know Atharv and I both used to watch him. His name is Jose. So he does these like live streams where he talks about scams. And there was this one time this person came and he said that his aunt got scammed by one of these KBC people, and they were really, really convincing. What they did was there was this guy, and he did a physical. First of all, he convinced them by one of these pictures. Then he did a physical video call with them where he used a green screen of a KBC office, and he used a suit and things like that, and he convinced them like he did full acting and stuff like that. So uh, yeah, so basically there are lots of people who will scam you like this for small things like KBC and dating. Do not be afraid. Uh, like I said, block the number and do not think much about it. Now, moving on to the next thing. Uh, do you think scams like after this, there are more scams? So, like, it's not the end of it. The most recent one is that a delivery person will come, they will deliver a package at your house, which is something you haven't ordered at all. Then they'll ask for an OTP, and OTP to cancel the order, and then your money is in their hands. These were some of the most common scams happening around us right now, and the only way to be safe is by being self-aware, and irrespective of the situation, never ever share your OTP with anyone over a phone call. And also for like apps like Flipkart, Amazon, OTPs are only for things like tech products or products above a certain price limit. So if you have never bought something, or if you haven't bought anything recently with which is not above a certain price limit, there is no reason for you to give an OTP or anything. And also, do not accept packages when you haven't ordered anything. If someone else is ordering also, they should at least inform you that they have ordered something, because you never know with these things, it might be a danger. Now let's move on to the next topic.
Let's also take a look at the things happening on a nationwide scale. A very significant example of cyber hacking that happened in our country was in April 2022 to Oil India Company. Hackers took control over 200 computers in their office at Assam and put a ransomware software into it, which is basically a method by which you can get all your data and control of your devices back only after paying a certain mentioned amount to the attackers. And this is generally in terms of Bitcoin or cryptocurrency in general. In this case, 120 crores were demanded, but Oil India took the help of some American firms and moved their workload to 200 new systems, and this took them 4 to 5 days, during which their operations remained shut. So these kind of things are happening even in our national scale. And I think we talked about this sometime before in one of our episodes, that there was a power cut in Mumbai, and then there were some people telling that it's hackers from China doing something, but that might not be true. But this Oil India case is true, and this could happen to other. This has happened with other companies as well.
Yeah, and not only companies, it has also happened to countries. So there is this very interesting thing that has happened a few years back in Bangladesh. Actually, not a few years back. I think almost a decade back. In Bangladesh, there was this national holiday, and like all the members of the official treasury had gone to the mosque or whatever. Like nobody was there in the office since it was a holiday, and that same day over $1 billion were stolen from the official Bangladesh treasury, and Bangladesh was like in a really bad shape. So there are lots of theories behind who did this and things. Like people are saying it's the North Koreans or the Lazarus group, a very famous group that is also linked to the North Koreans, the same people who are behind the whole Sony hack. If you don't believe it, one of the biggest companies in the world, Sony, was also hacked. around 2014, and lots of threats were there because of their movie about Kim Jong Un. They had this very funny movie by Seth Rogen and James Franco, and they were threatened to take it down. And if you don't know, Sony obviously didn't comply, and lots of their private emails and all the executives' emails and social security numbers, all those things were leaked. If you actually go see WikiLeaks, you can see a lot of those emails that have actually been released to the public by the hackers. So you have to be very careful where the biggest of where big countries and big companies are also susceptible to being hacked. Just imagine you can also easily be hacked. So be very careful with your information. And every month you hear like these headlines of like companies having data breaches, hackers threatening the companies to sell the data. Like in Australia also there was something where some kids, they hacked a telecom company and they were going to they released like 50,000 people's information, and they said they have like half of Australia uses the telecom company, so they said they could release half of Australia's information to the public. But I think the FBI or something intervened, and in the end, it didn't happen. But generally, these companies like settle deals with them. Fun fact: even I don't know why I know so much about this, but like even Uber had a huge data breach, and they tried hiding it. And I think the CEO was also under a bit scrutiny because of that. So he knew about it and he paid them off by saying that they found a bug in Uber systems. So that was like a loophole so that the transaction goes through by the bank. So that's why when I feel like when scammers call you, they already know most of your details and they are able to like convince you to give your OTP, but do not share your OTP. Be very careful with it.
India in the past few years is digitalizing at such a rapid pace that by 2026 there would be a billion Indians who will be using smartphones, and the amount of digital transactions we make via UPI apps such as Paytm, PhonePe, etc. is expected to reach $1 trillion by 2026. At this stage, we need to be as cautious as possible because as more people shift to a smartphone, they become vulnerable to getting scammed, and these scammers are finding new and innovative ways to scam people and make money. As much as you can, keep looking at the news for updates related to scams so that you know how you may be scammed and stay away from it. Also, educate or inform your family and friends who aren't aware of such things so that they don't fall prey to these scams. Before we end the episode, we should talk about some solutions or steps the government is taking to curb the number of cyber attacks in India. As a thumb rule, never ever share an OTP with anyone over a phone call, no matter how important he or she claims it to be. Unfortunately, if the scammer gets the better of you and you get scammed, immediately go to a nearby police station and lodge a complaint. If the scammer can be found before he withdraws the money from the account, there is a hope that you can get your money back. There are a number of organizations the government has set up, such as the Indian Cybercrime Coordination Center under the National Cybercrime Reporting Portal, where you can go and raise your complaint, and Citizen Financial Cyber Frauds Reporting and Management System for financial related scams. We'll link the government website where you can report cybercrime cases in the show notes. And the helpline number you can dial if you're a victim of cyber fraud is 1930. Keep this in mind.
And there are multiple websites that you can use if you use an iOS device too. There are these things like if you use the passwords option, there is an option to show that if your password has been compromised. Like for example, I myself can probably show if one of my passwords have been compromised. It shows that my passwords are compromised in so and so websites, or if I've reused my passwords. So never reuse your passwords, because if it's compromised on if any website gets hacked, they'll likely trying it on other websites too. Never reuse your password. Check if any of your passwords have been leaked in data breaches or any of your information has been leaked in data breaches. Use secure password managers or an Excel sheet or something like that to save different passwords and generate safe passwords.
As a nation, we need to create more awareness about cyber crimes because whenever someone gets scammed, they try to hide it because it'll make them feel embarrassed. We need to understand and stress on the fact that it's not that rare to get scammed, and no matter what has happened to you, you would be better off telling people and the authorities about it instead of shying away, which many people do. We also need to build a force of ethical hackers who can counterattack any hacking group which tries to compromise the nation's systems and organizations. That's it from our side for this episode. Do let us know your thoughts about this episode and let us know if you have ever got scammed in the Q&A section on Spotify. We would love to hear your stories as well, and it will help other people be aware of such scams. Thank you for listening, and don't forget to share it with your loved ones so that they never have to lose a penny at the hands of these scammers.